man. Let's go. Let's get it. You already know. What's good, everybody, though, man? We back for another one. Before we rank here, we're gonna go ahead and rank the Eastern Conference teams while we watch this video. The Lakers' new lineup without LeBron.
Well, at this point, I imagine that you have all heard the news regarding LeBron James, that he is currently dealing with sciatica on his right hip, a nerve irritation issue that's been bothering him for over a month, and will likely continue to bother him for over a month, as reports say that he'll be reevaluated in 3 to 4 weeks, which will keep him out for at least 5 to 10 regular season games, possibly 10 to 15 to 15 to 20 if he can't recover fairly quickly, and that can obviously pose a major problem to their team. Not only to their starting lineup, which will obviously have to be adjusted temporarily. Might that be with Jared Vanderbilt?
What's
Marcus
good,
Smart,
everybody, man? Everybody join up.
That's problem number one. But the even bigger problem, and the much more team-wide problem, is their entire rotation. Not only the team's starting lineup, but who will get more minutes and try to fill the void of LeBron James. After all, the guy played roughly 32 minutes per game last season, and was probably looking at playing around the same amount per game this season, if not only slightly less. I mean, they really couldn't afford for him to play a lot less than that, so at the bare minimum, 30 plus minutes per game. And well, that simply can't be filled by Luka Doncic. The guy's already playing 35 plus minutes per game, so really can't afford to tax him too much more here. Even for a combination of Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, they maybe might get 5 more minutes per game between the two of them, but also can't tax them too much either. So again, looking at guys like Jared Vanderbilt, Jake Arabia, Marcus Smart, pretty much the entire bench rotation, and maybe somebody that was on the outside looking in, that might be part of the rotation post-LeBron injury. How might that look? Let's talk about it and talk about their best starting lineup options, how their entire rotation should or maybe will look post-LeBron injury, who will get more playing time, who might actually enter the rotation that might not have been part of the rotation before LeBron got hurt, and simply how the entire thing likely will look
What's
without
good
LeBron
with
in
you,
there.
viewer?
But the feeling keeps kicking in.
NBA Eastern Conference teams. What's good with everybody, man? Make sure you drop a like. Let's get it. Oh, I forgot all about Philly. What's good with everybody? This is somebody else's Eastern Conference predictions. We got the Bucks, Magic, Heat, Knicks, Raptors, Pacers, Pistons, Wizards, Philly.
Get some things wrong in this video, but everybody else will too, so that's the fun of it. But
Celtics.
before we get into it, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I'm a small channel just trying to grow. Thank you very much. So to start the video, we're going to go in order from worst to best in the Eastern Conference. At the 15th seed in 2026, I have the Washington Wizards. Now, for this to be my projected worst team in the Eastern Conference, let me glaze for a minute. I see the vision with the Wizards' path in their rebuild moving forward. This offseason, they drafted Trey Johnson, number 6 overall. They recently just traded for Cam Whitmore as well. And they also traded Jordan Poole for CJ McCollum's expiring
I'm trying
contract.
to see.
The Washington Wizards to me feel like a team that just needs that clear-cut number 1 option to really be a competitive team in the East. Because I see solid depth pieces littered throughout the roster like Keshawn George, AJ Johnson, Bub Carrington, Corey Kispert, and a potential future star in Alex Sarr. The Wizards rookie, who averaged 13 points per game, shooting 40% from the field. His shooting splits certainly weren't great, but shooting 31% from 3 as a big man is something you can work on and develop. I would expect him to become very
I'm
respectable
trying to think of
three-point
all the
shooter, but
Eastern
he was
Conference
getting
teams.
better
What's
and better
good,
on
everybody?
defense as the season went on. He developed into a pretty solid shot blocker
The
already. I think Alex
Bulls,
Sarr is going to be a cornerstone for this team, and hopefully in next
the
year's draft they
Nets.
can land at least a top 3 pick and land that clear-cut number 1 option to take them hopefully into the play-in race next year. I'm intrigued to see how the Wizards season plays out.
Who are
I
some
want to see
more
improvements
Philly
from Bub
East
Carrington,
teams?
Bilal Coulibaly, and AJ Johnson this season. I also want to see how CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton mentor these young guys, and I want to see them improve from last season, not be a complete laughingstock, and show some real fight and pride in their games this year. At the 14th seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the Brooklyn Nets. This team in the offseason traded Cam Johnson for Michael Porter Jr., along with drafting Nolan Traore, Danny Wolf, Ben Serif, and Igor Dimon in the first round this year.
Honestly,
They're still in
14.
contract negotiations with Cam Thomas. I would expect him to return next season on a deal that's probably not too favorable for him, considering no teams in the NBA have
Yeah, I'll
cap
say the
space right
Nets.
now, and Cam Thomas's only confirmed offer is a 2-year, $14 million deal. The Brooklyn Nets are in the same position as the Washington Wizards. I'm sure they're
Appreciate
shooting
it.
for the number 1 overall pick in next year's draft as well. I would
Yeah,
expect
Brooklyn
both
gonna
Michael
be
Porter
14.
Jr. and Nick Claxton to be shopped at the trade deadline just because they don't fit the timeline. And you could hopefully get some value out of those guys and then give more minutes to the younger players. This is just another development year for the Brooklyn Nets, but they are bringing back their best jerseys, so it should be a somewhat exciting year for them. At the 13th seed, I have the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls, simply put, are just a flawed roster with
What's
not a
good
lot of
with you,
talent
Autumn?
jumping off the page. Obviously, I'm excited to see Matas Buzelis'
He
development
said
in
he
year
got the
2. I
Bulls
am
at
intrigued to see how
13.
much Chicago pays Josh Giddey and what their
Honestly,
plans
at
are for Kobe
13,
White, if they want to trade him while his value is peaking or if they want to re-up on him. As for Nikola Vucevic, he's on an expiring $20 million contract. The Bulls have been looking to
13th
trade
up
him for
here.
years now, and it's rumored that if they can't find a trade partner, they might even release him outright. I mean, this team is
Yeah,
just riddled with
Bulls.
okay players. There's not a lot of exciting ones. They re-signed Trey Jones, who
I
is
don't see
solid, and
nobody
they
that
traded
the
for
Bulls
Isaac
can really
Okoro.
be
Maybe
better
they can get
than.
something out of him. He's a
I even
solid
feel like the
perimeter
Raptors
defender.
gonna
He
be
just can't
good
shoot the
though.
ball. I would like to see a better year from Patrick Williams, who just simply has
No, I
not
just be
developed
smoking like one blunt
offensively,
a
but that might
night.
be asking too much. He's
Like this is
already
my
in year
first
6,
blunt
and
of
he
the
just
day,
can't figure out
and
his
it's already
offense.
11:26
Noah
at
Essendgay is an
night.
intriguing
I
prospect. I
basically went
really
a
like
whole
that
day
pick, and
without.
I hope he
Well, I
flourishes
smoked
in
like in
his
the
rookie
morning,
year.
but
But yeah, I expect a lot of turnover
not
from this
a whole
roster.
blunt.
Nothing really seems set in stone here. The Bulls somehow manage a way to always be competitive, so if they sneak into the playoffs, I wouldn't even be shocked, but this
They do got
roster
Kevin
is
Huerter
severely
team.
flawed, and even Bulls fans would agree with that. For the 11th seed, I have the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics, just minutes before I recorded this video,
I
traded
ain't gonna
Georges
lie.
Niang and 2 second-round picks for R.J. Lewis Jr., an undrafted rookie and a trade exception. So basically, the Boston Celtics traded Kristaps Porzingis for
I
an
wouldn't
undrafted
put the
player. I know
Celtics
Joe
at
Mazzulla
12.
is going to want to be competitive. I know Jaylen Brown is still an
I'll put the
all-star level
Raptors
player.
at
He's going to
12.
want to ball out. You still have Derek White. You traded for Anthony Simons, who's a solid offensive weapon. But when you take
Then
a look
I'd
at this
have the
roster for what it
Celtics
is,
at
minus Jason
11.
Tatum, this team has 5 rotation caliber players. And as of right now, this team is headed into the season with a Luka
So I got the
Garza,
Raptors
Neemias
at
Queta center
12, the
rotation.
Celtics
Now,
at
I'm sure there will
11.
be turnover for this roster as well. Right now, they're relying a lot on
Appreciate
guys like
somebody
Hugo
in the comments said
Gonzalez
you
and
got
Baylor
yams today.
Shireman.
What
Just
that
guys we
mean?
don't know how
That's
good they are
crazy.
yet, but you still have Derek White and Jaylen Brown and
Didn't
Peyton
nobody say
Pritchard
that.
and Anthony Simons and one of the best coaching staffs in the league and
That's what I'm
championship
saying. I don't feel like
pedigree. It's just
Boston
hard for me
gonna
to
be as
envision this
bad as
team
people
completely
think.
tanking, but for right now, I have them as the 12th seed. Although the Celtics are annual contenders, this roster as it stands today is just completely devoid of talent, and I'm not very optimistic on how they fare this season. For the 11th seed, I have the Charlotte Hornets. Unfortunately, I have this team missing out on the play-in yet again, but I do expect to see improvement
I would
from
have
the
the
team.
Hornets
I
at
would like to see a
10.
better year 2 from Tijon Salon. I expect a solid rookie season from Con Knuppel, and I really like the addition of Colin Sexton along with the draft picks of Liam
I
McNeely
feel like that
and
Colin
Ryan
Sexton
Kalkbrenner.
pickup
This is a
gonna make
talented squad. Their main issue
the
has
Hornets
just
a
been
little bit
injuries.
better
It feels
though.
like this team can never all
That'll
be
really
healthy
help
at the same
LaMelo at the
time.
shooting
And with the
guard. Then
East being
put Brandon
generally
Miller
weaker
at
this
small
year, I would
forward.
expect an
Then
improved
Miles
win-loss
Bridges at
record. You
power
also have
forward.
Grant Williams coming back from
Then
injury. You have
I
an
think they got
offseason for
Nurkic
LaMelo Ball and
too.
Brandon Miller to recover from their injuries, along with Trey Mann coming back to the team. I just sense a lot of good vibes for this team headed into 2026. LaMelo Ball
Appreciate it.
last season in 47 games averaged his career high in 25 points per game, but unfortunately the shooting splits dipped. He only shot 40% from the field. I would expect those numbers to look a lot better this year, and I would expect competitive basketball from the Charlotte Hornets in 2026. The only reason I have this team missing out on the play-in as they stand right now is just their lack of center depth. Musa Diabate is a solid defender and rebounder, but he is undersized at 6'9". Behind him, you have their free agent signing Mason Plumlee, who I am not very fond of.
I don't even be asking him the names. I just know he gonna bring that gas every time.
To give them solid minutes this year. I think 2026 will be a step in the right direction.
But he got that. He had peanut butter breath too.
I have the Toronto Raptors.
I low key wanted to get that for real.
Conference from top to bottom. There's just
I had the Raptors at 12.
You can spot 12 to 13 of these guys' minutes and not feel bad about it at all. They're very deep. They're very promising. And if all things go according to plan this year, they should actually be higher than the 10th seed. But unfortunately, last season was just not a good one for them. The injury luck hit them hard, but they did trade for
they do got Brandon Ingram now, though.
It's going to be very productive for them, but the fit is
they might be higher than 12.
And Scotty Barnes and Jakob Poeltl, who are all not great three-point shooters, and Brandon Ingram isn't exactly lights out himself. So there are some
I'll put the Hornets at 10. I mean, I'll put the Hornets at 12. And then put the Raptors at 10.
I would expect him to have a bounce-back year, and he hasn't shot under 37%
Celtics
from three since 2022. I also really like the pick of Colin Murray-Boyles in the first round. I think he should be a solid rotational player from day one. Should be a solid defender out the gate with a promising three-point shot. But really,
that's what I was saying, bro. I feel like people just be calling it shit.
If Scotty Barnes is
like most of them dispensary, most of the dispensary weeds, bro. I feel like they don't even be like it for real.
The Cade Cunninghams of the world.
They don't even give me high like it. Like they give me more of just like a straight up stuck high, or just like I don't know.
Now this is an extremely difficult team to rank, because obviously if I'm getting Joel Embiid, one of the best players in the world, at 100% health, then I would have this team way higher than the 9th seed. But there just simply isn't reason to believe that Joel Embiid will be healthy this year. And really, if that is the case and Embiid only plays 30 or less games this year, I think the 76ers will miss the play-in entirely. But I'm relying on a somewhat stable season from Embiid.
Philly
I think they'll at least make the play-in. I would expect him to obviously miss a few games, but at the end of the day, he is one of the best players in the world.
Pacers at 9, 76ers at 8.
And when he is not healthy, when he's healthy, we'll know. And I think he could string the 76ers on for a good amount of wins. Yeah, this roster just simply goes wherever Joel Embiid goes. If he has a solid season, he can play around 50-plus games, then this is a playoff team. But if Embiid just simply can't make the floor, then it's back down to where you were last year. Because this team in the offseason lost Gershon Yabusele, they brought back Aaron Gordon and Kyle Lowry for some reason. And I really like VJ Edgecombe, but you already have Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Justin Edwards, Kelly.
They got a whole hemp
field
here.
There's just not enough minutes to go around for these guys, and you're going to be relying on Andre Drummond and Adem Bona if Embiid goes down. The roster is certainly not perfect, but just simply the greatness of Joel Embiid, I think, can at least keep this team afloat in the East. And they should.
He keeps saying just Joel Embiid though, but they got Tyrese Maxey. If Paul George can stay healthy, he might be alright. VJ Edgecombe. But I heard Jared McCain get hurt
some of the worst shooting splits of his career, so hopefully he can get back on track. And I don't know what happens with Quentin Grimes, but if they bring him back, then that's just even less minutes for VJ Edgecombe. This team is just lacking size in general, and with the question marks on Paul George and Joel Embiid's health, I unfortunately cannot have them any higher than the 9th seed right now. For the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, this is a similar story to the 76ers. This team goes as far as Giannis takes them. I would expect an MVP-level season from Giannis, but unfortunately, I just don't have this team winning that many regular season games, because the depth around Giannis right now looks like Bobby Portis, Ryan Rollins, Kyle Kuzma, Miles Turner. That's just not great. This seems like a team of one of the best players in the world, and then just a bunch of solid depth pieces, like 7th to 9th man rotation guys. That's just not enough. There's a lack of playmaking and a lack of shot creation in general. I expect Giannis to be kind of the point guard of this team, but for that to be ultra effective, you have to rely on guys like Cole Anthony and Kyle Kuzma to hit their threes consistently, and that's just not a given. I do like the addition of Miles Turner. He's certainly an upgrade over Brook Lopez, but I don't think a guy like Miles Turner really changes the destination of the Milwaukee Bucks this year. It's just pretty obvious that this team doesn't have a lot to look forward to outside of their their best player. And if God forbid Giannis goes down for even a few weeks, I mean, it could get really nasty for the Bucks. I hope they have a solid season, and I hope they at least make the playoffs, because if they don't, then it's more and more likely that Giannis will be on a different team
They
next
do
year.
look
And I like
horrible,
loyalty
though.
in
I
the
just
NBA.
thought about
I
their
hope
team.
Giannis retires a Buck. But at the end of the day, his two best teammates are Miles Turner and Kyle Kuzma. And unless they pull off a miracle trade, I don't see them being in the upper echelon of teams in the Eastern Conference this year. For the number 7 seed, I have the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat this offseason drafted Kasparas Yakuchonis and traded for Norman Powell. Norman Powell was a lights-out shooter for the Clippers last year, an all-star level player, and that was a huge upgrade for the Heat to get for
I'll pick
absolutely
Bucks
nothing.
in my
I do
7
have my
seed.
questions on how he fits in the starting lineup. Do they have him or Tyler Hero playing the 3? Or do they have Tyler Hero running the point next year, which I'm also not too fond of? And do they plan on making Khalil Ware a full-time starter and giving Bam the power forward minutes? I think that's how you unlock the true potential of this team, if Bam Adebayo and Khalil Ware can just be two twin towers down low. Have your shooting on the perimeter in Norman Powell and Tyler Hero, with your lockdown perimeter defender in Davion Mitchell. I definitely see the vision
I
for this
do
team.
feel like
You also have
Miami's
the
gonna be
development
good
of
this
Jaime
year,
Jaquez
though.
Jr., who had a down season last year, but I would expect
They
him
got
to
some
get an
nice
uptick
young
in minutes
players,
this
though.
year. You've
And
also
you know
had
they got
Nikola
that whole
Jokic,
Heat
who I feel like we've
mentality.
just been waiting on to break out, but last season he actually played pretty solid.
I forgot about
25 minutes a night,
Jokic.
scoring 11 points per game. The Heat always find a way to be competitive throughout the regular season. I just could not envision them missing the play-in this year. I think there's enough talent and enough continuity on this roster to be a top 8 team in the East this year. At the 6th seed, I have the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers were one of my favorite
6 seed,
teams
I
in the
got
league to
Miami.
watch last year, and their finals run was some of the most exciting basketball I've seen in years. But unfortunately, we know how that story ended last year
No,
with
6
Tyrese
seed, I got the
Halliburton tearing
Magic.
his Achilles in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, which is still the most absolutely insane thing I've
I feel
ever
like
heard.
Miami
Obviously,
gonna be
they're gonna
above
missing their
the.
offensive
I feel
hub
like
and their
Miami
best
gonna be
player
above
this year, but I
Orlando.
think that gives opportunity for guys like Benedict Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard to take the next step. Benedict Mathurin is on the last year of his rookie contract. He averaged 16 points per game last year, and I would
Indiana
expect an
is still
uptick in
gonna have
minutes
a
this
nice
year.
team,
So if there's
though,
any
but
time for
I don't
Benedict
know.
Mathurin to prove that he's the type of player you want to build around, now is the time. I would expect him to have a huge role in the Pacers' success this year, and I think this is the season he averages 20 points per game. Andrew Nembhard, who's going to be taking over the full-time point guard responsibility,
Hey, I
I
swear.
think is primed for a breakout year. We know he's been one of their most clutch playoff performers
Gold
over the
been
last
going
2
up like
years. But in the
crazy.
regular season, he's just been very inconsistent. Last year, he shot 29% from 3. He's already an extremely solid perimeter defender, and I think he is fully capable of being a starting point guard. And you obviously still have Pascal Siakam, who's an all-star level guy, one of the best forwards in the league, a proven second option for a championship team, one of the most underrated players in the NBA, and I hope he stays healthy because I'm expecting a monster season from him next year. But we obviously have to discuss the departure of Miles Turner. Right now, their center rotation is Isaiah Jackson, James Wiseman, and Jay Huff, which is just obviously not great. It's actually pretty bad. So that's one of the big reasons why I think the Pacers will take a step back this year. They're simply going to miss the defensive presence and shooting of Miles Turner at the center spot. But
possessed
aside
by
from that,
crime.
you still have Jarris Walker, Obi
I only got
Toppin,
one
Aaron
phone.
Nesmith coming back next year.
And I got
There's
an
still
Android.
continuity and chemistry between these guys, and I think they should still easily be a playoff team. For the 5th seed, I have the Atlanta Hawks. I'm expecting a big
I
year
forgot
for the
all
Hawks
about
if there's
Atlanta,
any time
though.
to break out into one of the upper echelon teams in the Eastern Conference. It is now. You just pulled off one of your best offseasons
I got
ever,
Miami.
signing Nickeil Alexander-Walker and trading
I got
absolutely
Miami
nothing
at
for a guy of
5.
Kristaps Porzingis' caliber. If you can get him healthy and on the floor, he's
This
still one of the
right
best
here,
shot
this
blockers
next,
in
this
the
is
league,
top
and
5
still
right
an
here in the
extremely
Eastern
versatile
Conference.
offensive weapon. Dyson
I
Daniels
got
and
Miami
Zachary
Heat
Ricochet
right
are
now.
only going to get better. And
I
you also
forgot
get
all
Jalen
about
Johnson
Atlanta.
back on the court. He is primed to have a career year. They also drafted Asa Newell and signed Luke Kennard. This is the first time I've been confident in the Atlanta Hawks'
I feel like
success
Atlanta
in a
gonna be
very long
good,
time.
though.
I'm a big Trae Young believer, so every year I tell myself that the Hawks are going to get back into the Eastern Conference Finals like they were in 2021. They're going to rekindle that magic. Well, all signs are pointing to a positive direction for the Hawks this year. Trae Young had a down season scoring the ball. He had his worst shooting split since his rookie year, but he did average almost 12 assists per night and stood out as one of the best
I'm about to
playmakers
go crazy
in
on
the NBA.
2K.
You had a sniper like Kristaps. You hope Dyson Daniels' three-point shot comes along. Luke Kennard is also a sniper. Nikhil Alexander-Walker can definitely hit a three. And the number 1 overall pick of last year, Zachary Risache, just waiting in the shadows to break out. If all things go correctly, I think the Hawks could be a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, but I should probably see it first before I jump the gun. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna keep it light. I have the Hawks at the 5th seed, but I expect them to be a force in the postseason for the first time since 2021. At the 4th seed, I have the Detroit Pistons. Last season, we witnessed Cade Cunningham break out into one of the official best point guards in the NBA, and I would expect an even better season from him this year. The Pistons arose out of the gutter of the Eastern Conference last season to be the 6th seed and won 44 games. For the first time in so long, there was genuine reason to be excited for Pistons basketball. The development of Jalen Duren into being one of the best young centers in the league, the addition of Tobias Harris was big for them, and Asar Thompson looks to be one of their most promising young players and hopefully one of the best perimeter defenders in the league in a few years. You also get the return of Jaden Ivey this season, who finally broke out last year, shooting 41% from the field and almost 18 points per game. If that 3-ball can stay consistent, then I
especially
see no
if they
reason
get
as to
Jaden
why
Ivey
he
back.
can't be Cade's backcourt partner for the next 5 years. In the offseason,
But they did lose
lost
2 of their
to the
best
Kings
shooters,
and
though.
lost Malik
Well, I
Beasley
ain't gonna
to
say they
FanDuel,
best.
but they brought in one
Tim
of the
Hardaway
best shooters
Jr.
in
and
the
Malik
league in
Beasley.
Duncan Robinson on a 3-year deal, and replaced Dennis Schroeder with Karis LeVert, one of the more reliable shot creators off the bench in the NBA. I expect this team
Instead
to
of
build
Dennis
on
Schroeder,
what
they
they
got
developed
Karis
last
LeVert.
season. I hope to see improvements in Ron Holland's
That's
game.
gonna help him
Last year,
with
he shot
scoring, though.
24%
I'm pretty
from
sure he can
3,
play
which is
defense,
obviously
too.
horrific, but he's an incredible defender and could be a big part of the Pistons rotation if he could just
The
figure
Pistons
out his
gonna be
offense.
good, though.
Yeah, I think JB Bickerstaff and the Pistons are headed into the right direction. They're going to walk into the playoffs as a top 4 seed and be an even improved version of what they were last season. At the 3rd seed, I have the Orlando Magic. The Magic pulled off one of the biggest trades of this offseason, shipping out Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Cole Anthony, along with 4 first-round picks for one of the better shooters in the NBA in Desmond Bane. This was the official win-now move for the Magic. They believe they can make a run in this Eastern Conference, given that Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton will be out. This is the time for a new contender in the East to emerge, and with 2 all-star level guys in Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner leading the way, the Magic could find themselves in the NBA Finals this season if things go their way. The Magic last season snuck into the playoffs as the 7th seed, but I believe they would have been a
Magic
much higher
top 3
seed
though.
if Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner
I
didn't
can't
miss
talk
games.
about all that
They'll be
on
back
here,
at 100% health to start this year, and if both can stay healthy, I would expect them both to have career years. This roster is loaded from top to bottom. You have Anthony Black and Jalen Suggs to round out the guard room. 2 great perimeter defenders. Jalen Suggs last season averaged over 15 points per game for the first time.
There's somebody I'm really not
the shooting
thinking
splits
about,
went
though.
down, but with the improved spacing to the team now, with the addition of Desmond
The
Bane, I
Cavs.
expect his shooting splits to go up. Hopefully Franz Wagner follows behind him as he only shot 29% last year. Franz and Paulo have
I got the Hawks
they can be the
3
star
though.
duo for the future of the Magic. This is one of the better defensive teams in the NBA, but they've always struggled on offense. The Magic offense is painful to watch at times, but with the addition of a pass-first point guard in Tyus Jones, and with the improved spacing of trading for Desmond Bane and drafting Jace Richardson, I think this is a top 3 team in the East and could be a dark horse NBA Finals team. For the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, I have the New York Knicks. I expect a similar level of dominance from the Knicks this season. They improved along the margins in free agency, signing a solidified backup point guard in Jordan Clarkson and Gershon Yabusele, who played his first season in the NBA since 2019 year, which he averaged 11 points per game and shot 50% from the field and 38% from 3. He's as good as a player you can ask for a 2-year, $12 million contract. That was one of the better steals of free agency, in my opinion. You also still have one of the best point guards in the NBA in Jalen Brunson to lead the squad. He should have another All-NBA level season. Mikal Bridges, who was just recently rewarded with a 4-year extension, he struggled shooting the 3 consistently last year, but with more continuity and better chemistry headed into next year, also with a new coach in Mike Brown, who is simply more creative offensively than Tom Thibodeau was, I think Mikal Bridges will give the Knicks their money's worth next year. Along with Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, and Josh Hart rounding out the starting lineup, this team is a nightmare on the perimeter defensively, and I expect them to be right back
the
as
Knicks
one
are
of the
about
best
to
teams
be
in the East
cold,
next
though.
year, and potentially even a finals run. And for the first seed, the best team in the Eastern
The
Conference,
Cleveland
I have the Cleveland
Cavaliers.
Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers
This
last
is the
season
Western
went 64
Conference
and
and
18,
the
one of the
Eastern
best
Conference.
seasons in their franchise's history. You saw real development out of Evan Mobley in his 4th season, where he
Somebody
averaged a career-high
screenshot
18
that.
points per game and shot 37% from the 3, and has also become one of the best defenders in the NBA. You pair that defensive presence with Jarrett Allen on the
I
inside,
got
another
Cavs,
incredible rim protector,
Knicks,
and that team is just
the
impossible
Hawks,
to get
the
around defensively.
Pistons,
I expect another dominant.
the Miami Heat, the Magic, the Bucks, the 76ers, then the Pacers, the Raptors, then the Celtics, then the Hornets, then the Bulls, then the Nets, then the Wizards. Oh.
Year from the Cavs this regular season.
All right,
Donovan
man.
Mitchell and Darius
Make sure
Garland
y'all
backcourt
join up
should
on my
continue to be
2K
on
stream.
point.
I'm
They've
about to go
developed into
live.
one of the better perimeter
Let's get it.
duos in the league.